Well, since my last YouTube video, I've been trying to come up with another YouTube. And today I came up with the idea of recording telephone conversations. And the reason I do this is because of what Verizon did to me back in the spring of 2011. Now, the summer prior to that, in 2010, I didn't know much about computers, and I had Verizon for my cell phone service, my internet, and my house phone. And I asked them, do they have any geeks there that can tell me, that give me technical support with computers? And they said, yeah, there's a $15 a month fee for 10 months. And when I used to call them up for technical support after I agreed to it, it turned out the geeks they had knew far less about computers than I did. I was a heck of a lot smarter when it came to computers, and that's not saying much. The whole point of me getting a service because they were supposed to know more about computers and help me out. Well, anyway, the following spring, I called up to see if my contract ran out for that technical support on computers. And what happened was the Verizon phone operator told me yes. And I said, are you sure? Because I don't want to pay no early termination fee. And he says, don't worry about this. You're not going to be charged the early termination because your contract is over. I said, good, cancel it. So we went ahead and canceled it. On my very next bill, I saw $100 charge on my bill. And when I called up to find out what was going on, they told me it was because I canceled my technical support 28 days early. That's what the charge was for. I said, wait a minute. When I called up, I had specifically asked, is my contract over? And I was told, yes. All you have to do is go back and look it up. They tell me, no, I'm a liar. I realized I had made a mistake and I'm trying to weasel my way out of it. All they had to do is go back and check. They record all conversations when somebody calls up. They say it's for technical training and quality control, which is bullshit. They record all phone call conversations like everybody else to protect themselves in court. But to circumvent that, they say it's for quality control and for training purposes only. And they hung up on me. And I called up several times more since then to complain about it. And each time I called up, they hung up on me. So I went out and got a recording device, which I could hook up to my computer and record my phone calls. And they kept telling me to turn it off. Now what happens is, whenever you record somebody on the phone, you have to say each and every time you're recording them. Now, supposing you call up the same person and they know you have it, you have to state for the record that you're recording the phone call, even if they already have not prior knowledge to it. And so when I told them I'm recording the phone call, they told me to stop recording. They don't give consent. I said, okay, fine. You turn off your recording device. And they said they can't do that. And I said, as long as you don't leave yours on, I'm leaving mine on. Well, they wouldn't conduct business with me. So I hung up on them. Then a few seconds later, they call me up and says, you got to turn off your phone call recording device. I says, well, I'm no longer doing business with criminals. And she says, I'm not a criminal. Well, if you're working for a criminal organization, that makes you a criminal. And as far as I'm concerned, Verizon is a criminal organization because they rip you off and they hang up when you got a complaint. And it's like talking to the wall. And each time you got a complaint, they hang up on you. That's how I figured out that the only reason they record you is not for quality control, for training purposes, is to protect themselves in court. And I've been with them since the early 90s. And at the end of the summer in 2011, I canceled all my services with them. And I took my internet, my house phone, over to a local cable company, and I took my cell phone over to Straight Talk. When these people make a mistake, they try to blame you. It ain't just Verizon. There are other companies out there doing the same thing, but the biggest criminal organization I see is Verizon. Of course, when you got a complaint that they're trying to rip you off or whatever the case may be, they hang up on you. And when you got a complaint about one of the Verizon employees, they hang up on you. It could be a legitimate complaint and you got a legitimate grievance with them, and they hang up on you. I even had a friend one time who told me when she was living in a certain location, she had Verizon internet, but when she moved to a different location, they didn't have internet service in that new location, and they were still charging her because she was under contract. So she went to the Verizon office to complain about it, and she wasn't going to leave until they either canceled the billing or call the cops. They finally had to cancel the billing instead of calling up the cops on her. They're sadistic and they're the worst kind of criminals out there. They record all your conversations, but the second you say you're recording them, oh, I don't give consent. You got to turn it off. But at the same time, they refuse to turn theirs off. And I don't think that it could be turned like that. If they don't give consent to you recording them, then you should not give consent to them recording you. It's a two-way streak, and that's the way it's always been in my book. So if you're still doing business with Verizon, I recommend you record all your phone calls with them. And if they got a problem, you just simply tell them, well, I don't consent to you recording me. And if they still have a problem with that, then I recommend you hang up and take your business elsewhere. You could try, I wouldn't do it the first time, but if you do it 4 or 5 times and they're still copying an attitude after 4 or 5 times, then I would recommend you go someplace else. And I still consider them to be criminals, and anybody that works for them is a criminal, is what you would call guilt by association. Thank you. Have a nice day and stay safe.